Yo, it's King of the Ring Boxing, back again with a new video. Today's instrumental is made by my good friend Veneri. He's an up and coming producer from Finland. I'll leave a link to his SoundCloud in the description below. Go check him out, and if you want any beats, just hit him up. Send him the discount code K1NG, he'll probably give you 50% off or something like that. Nah, I'm only joking, but you can try it and see what happens, you get me. But yeah, today's video is going to be about Dillian Whyte, just about his career. Obviously, he's been calling out a lot of fighters recently, like Deontay Wilder, Andy Ruiz, and even Usyk. Actually, he's been calling out, despite being knocked out in his last fight. So, I'm going to be discussing like what's really gone wrong or what he's done well, and yeah, and see where he goes from here. Dillian Whyte's had a really good career. He's got quite a deep resume actually. When you pick up wins against the likes of Oscar Rivas, Joseph Parker, Marius Wack, Robert Helenius, when you accumulate those sorts of wins, I think you have to be respected as a fighter. The verdict on Dillian seems to be like on two extremes. On the one hand, you got people who think he's a very elite level fighter, should have had a world title shot by now, should have been a world champion by now, considering who's picked up belts in the time in which he's been fighting. And on the other hand, you've got people who believe that he's not a very good fighter, doesn't really deserve or hasn't really deserved a shot at the title, and yeah, that he shouldn't really be in the conversation for top 5 heavyweights in the world. Me, I sit in the middle. I think by now Dillian should have had a world title shot, but do I think he would have won them? No. Do I think he's as good as many of his fans think? No. Do I think he had a lot of qualities that people who hate on him don't give him credit for? Yes. I think the reason why I don't think he would have won a world title during his career is obviously we saw the Anthony Joshua fight. I think that if that fight was to happen again, I think it would have been the same. It would be the same result. I think Joshua now beats him more comfortably, especially now that he's got this new Angel Fernandez style where he's more fluid. I think he won't get caught in the sort of having a tear up with Dillian. I think that would be Dillian's best chance against Joshua, having a little tear up where he can catch Joshua with his signature left hook. But I don't think Joshua would allow him that opportunity this time, so I think Joshua would beat him. I think Fury would beat him just because he's too big, too strong, not to sound like Carl Froch, but he's too big, too strong, and I think there's too many physical disadvantages that Dillian would have to overcome to beat Tyson Fury. Could he put Fury down? Yes. Fury had been put down with the likes of Nevin Pykage, Steve Cunningham. Does Dillian have more power than those guys? Yes. But as we've seen, Fury has great power of recovery. When he does get knocked down, for example, when he got knocked down by Deontay Wilder, got up and got on the front foot. So I don't think, even if Dillian put him down, he wouldn't put him out, and I don't see Dillian beating him on points. So yeah. So if we put those two heavyweight champions to one side, we look at people who did pick up. Someone who did pick up picked up the belts in the meantime during his career was Andy Ruiz. When Andy Ruiz beat AJ. And I think the Dillian Whyte Andy Ruiz fight is quite interesting actually. Obviously, I think Andy Ruiz is a very flawed fighter, and he has a lot of good qualities, which is obviously on the inside. He's got very fast hands, and he does this little, I wouldn't say he's got fantastic head movement, but he does have enough where he can avoid shots just to let his own off. And I think that Dillian Whyte, his strengths are working on the inside, and I just think on the inside Ruiz is just a bit better. And I think that if those two did fight, it'd end in a knockout win for Andy Ruiz. Now, the reason why I think Whyte would get knocked out by Ruiz, and why a lot of top level fighters now, is because we've seen his chin deteriorate. So if we look over his last sort of 4 or 5 fights, we can see that he was hurt by Parker, hurt by Helenius, hurt by Wack, dropped by Rivas, and knocked out by Alexander Povetkin. So I think his chin is letting him down now, whereas before I think it could have held up a lot more punishment. But now he's calling out people like Deontay Wilder. And I know Deontay Wilder's stock's gone down since he's lost to Fury, but I still feel like Wilder would just clean the canvas with Whyte. I think Whyte might have some success early, where Wilder's trying to find his range with the jab and trying to set up that big right hand straight out of Alabama. But I think eventually Wilder catches Whyte, and Whyte doesn't get up from that. No way. I think the only reason I give Whyte a chance in the Povetkin rematch is because he was doing so well in the first 4 or 5 rounds, and he was winning the fight. Pretty much, I didn't give Povetkin a single round in that fight until the knockout came. Obviously, he won the fight via knockout, but even up until the knockout point, Whyte was winning that round, and yeah, it was just a beautifully landed shot. But that's the only reason I give Whyte a chance. If he can sort of work on how to avoid that Povetkin uppercut or even his hooks. The thing with Povetkin is, I don't necessarily think he's a extremely hard hitting fighter. It's just that he's so accurate and his punches are thrown with such technique that it just hits the sweet spot on his opponents, and they just go tumbling down like Dillian Whyte did. So I think Whyte's best bet is to probably fight like he did in the first fight and try and get Povetkin out of there. I think if he boxes Povetkin, he eventually gets caught. But that's the only thing. Like, when you've been knocked out by someone, is Whyte really going to be able to fight the same? Like, will he be able to get rid of those demons in his head? I'm not sure, but it seems like to me Whyte is a very mentally strong fighter. Straight after he's been knocked down by Povetkin, and obviously Povetkin's going through this whole COVID-19 thing where the fights had to be rescheduled multiple times because he's caught the virus. But Whyte's straight back on calling out Wilder, Ruiz, Usyk, and I think he is mentally strong, so I think he will be able to stick it on Povetkin, but is his mind stronger than his chin? That is my question. And I think it is. I don't think his chin's very strong anymore. And I think even if he does go through Povetkin, who does he fight next? Let's say he fights Wilder. Wilder beats him. Let's say he fights Ruiz. Ruiz beats him, because whilst Ruiz is flawed in terms of not being able to move his feet and things like that, I think Whyte doesn't really have the greatest feet either, and Whyte's bread and butter is fighting on the inside, and that's Ruiz's bread and butter. I just think Ruiz is just a bit more faster, has a bit more pop to his punches, and I think the only thing that I'd go for Whyte in that fight is his check left hook, where he catches the opponent's right, usually their right hook, and then basically lands his own left hook, which is one of the most devastating punches in the heavyweight division, to be fair. I know people give Whyte a lot of stick, people who are Whyte haters, but you have to admit that his catch and shoot with the left hook is stunning. It is stunning. But yeah, so where does he go from here? I think he's trying to jump the gun, like, in terms of not waiting out for Povetkin to recover from the COVID-19 illness. I think that'd be a major mistake, because as I said, the fighters he is calling out, he would get beaten by, and obviously he's called out Usyk as well, and I think it's just I think that'll be it'll be a shutout points victory for Usyk. Again, when Usyk fought Chisora, people were giving Chisora a lot of rounds, but they weren't seeing that a lot of Chisora's punches were being caught on arms. He was pretty much riding a lot of the shots that Chisora did land, which weren't even many. I think people over it. I think when we expect a fighter to do so much better than another fighter, and when the fighter that we didn't expect much from does a lot more than we thought, we overinflate what the lesser fighters done. I think that was the case in the Usyk Chisora fight. People overinflated what Chisora did because they didn't expect it from him, and they sort of undervalued what Usyk was doing because he underperformed to their sort of standard. He underperformed for me because he didn't look as slick as he did at cruiserweight when he did go up against Gasayev and Bradis, you know. But even in the Bradis fight, I think shows a lot of how it shows the sort of the way you can beat Usyk. But I don't think Whyte's as well put together technically as Bradis, so I just don't see him beating Usyk in that way either. So it's a bit of a strange one. That's why the title of this video is called The Curious Case of Dillian Whyte, because what does he do? He gets beaten by the world champions. He probably gets beaten by all the contenders. He got beat by Povetkin, who's not even a contender really. Well, he is now, obviously that's the eliminator, but I'd put a lot of other people before Povetkin to fight a Fury or a Joshua, in my eyes anyway. I don't know about you guys, leave a comment below whether you think that, you know, you'd be interested in seeing Fury versus Povetkin, or if you even think that would be competitive, because I don't really think so. But yeah, where does he go from here? I don't know. I think his sort of, I enjoy his mentality for the sport, where he wants to fight anyone, whenever, wherever. I enjoy that mentality because he has gone through a lot of top 10 contenders, more than a lot of other fighters. His resume, I'd say, is probably better than Deontay Wilder's, which is not hard to be fair, but when you consider Wilder was a WBC champion for so long, I think that is a sort of plus you can give to Dillian. But yeah, I don't know. I guess for me, where he goes from here is he just keeps on fighting, keeps on making his money, and yeah, just keeps on stacking money, because yeah, the British public just seem to love watching Dillian fight. So yeah, leave comments below. What do you think he should do next, and who do you think he could beat? You might disagree with me and think that he does beat a Wilder, beats Povetkin in the rematch, or beats a Usyk, or I don't know, like an Ortiz, something like that. Yeah, just let me know what you think. But yeah, that's the end of the video. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Do you agree with what I've said in this video? If not, let me know why. I always welcome healthy discussion, as long as we're not, you know, throwing insults or anything like that. But yeah, that's the end of the video. It's King of the Ring Boxing. I'm out.